Flip-hand phones, Babylons can't crack the code.
A couple videos ago, I made a video on Last Chance U Season 1 and Season 2, which followed East Mississippi Community College and the football team, and where are they now, the main players from that team that were followed on the show. In today's video, I'm going to be doing something similar, this time with Independence Community College, which was featured on Season 3 and Season 4. Before I move on with the video, remember to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, as we are on the road to 10K. In Season 3 of Last Chance U, the first year that they were in Independence Community College, in the 2017 college football season, the team was pretty good, and they were one of the best teams in the nation, in fact, as they went 9-2 during the season and had a huge winning streak at one point after losing their first game to Iowa Western. They would finish the season winning a bowl game versus Northeastern Oklahoma A&M with a score of 30-20. The first player I am going to be talking about from Season 3 is the star running back Rakeem Boyd. Now, Rakeem Boyd, before going to Independence, was at Texas A&M, but once he got to Independence, he became one of their best players on offense, and you may even argue the best player on offense for that Season 3 team. He was a highly sought-after JUCO recruit when looking at some of the other people he was compared to, and he would end up going to Arkansas after his time at ICC. Rakeem Boyd would be an Arkansas Razorback for a total of 3 seasons. In those 3 seasons, he rushed for over 2,000 yards, averaged almost 6 yards per carry, and had 13 total touchdowns on the ground. His best season was in 2019, where in 12 games played, he rushed for over 1,000 yards, averaging 6 yards per carry, and had 8 total touchdowns on the ground. Some thought he was going to declare for the 2020 NFL Draft, as it seemed like a for sure shot he was going to be drafted, even if it was a mid to late round pick. He was still viewed as a valuable running back in that draft, but he would decide to come back for the 2020 campaign, and unfortunately for Rakeem Boyd, 2020 was not exactly his best season. The season was shortened, and Rakeem didn't have his best production, as in 6 games played, he rushed for 309 yards, averaging about 4 yards per carry, and 3 total touchdowns. He declared for the 2021 NFL Draft, where he would end up going undrafted. After going undrafted, he would end up signing with the Lions, but just shortly a month after he signed with the team, he got waived with an injury settlement. And that's been about the last we've heard about his football career thus far. The next player I'm going to be talking about from Season 3 is also an offensive player. This time it's receiver Carlos Thompson. Now, Carlos Thompson had an interesting career before he got to ICC. He was originally at Texas Tech, but then he would actually kind of bounce around to a couple of JUCOs with Coach Jason Brown at one point at Garden City, then found his way at Independence Community College. He had some interest from D1 programs when he was at Independence, but due to his clock issues with NCAA eligibility, he had to go D2 and he went to Missouri Western. Carlos Thompson would spend 1 season at Missouri Western State, where in 11 games played, he had 17 receptions for 261 yards and 1 touchdown. After that 1 season, he declared his name for the 2019 NFL Draft, where he would end up going undrafted, and he hasn't exactly had a shot with the NFL quite yet. Since his time has been done with college football, he has played for a couple indoor pro football league teams. Sticking with the receiver position for Season 3, we have another star of the offense from that season, this time Calvin Jackson Jr. After his time at Independence, he would end up going to Washington State. Jackson would end up playing at Washington State for a total of 4 seasons, spanning from 2018 to this previous 2021 campaign. In his career at Washington State, he had 104 receptions for 1,403 receiving yards, averaging 13.5 yards per reception, and 10 total career touchdowns through the air. His best season was his previous 2021 season, in which 13 games played, he had 987 receiving yards, averaging 15 yards per reception, and 7 total touchdowns. In the 2022 NFL Draft, he went undrafted, but he has signed as an undrafted free agent with the New York Jets. When talking about Last Chance U and their time at Independence, you cannot forget to bring up the quarterback, Malik Henry. Now, Malik Henry was in Season 3 and Season 4. He was primarily in Season 3 as the starting quarterback, and he was in Season 4 a very short time, as most of the time in Season 4 he actually wasn't on the team. Also, when talking about Malik Henry and Last Chance U in general, he has to be the highest rated recruit on the entire show when they were actually in high school. As in his recruiting class, Malik Henry was a top player and a top quarterback in that class. And before his time at ICC, he was actually at Florida State. Malik Henry, despite being a pretty solid quarterback overall in his time at Independence, in my opinion, he would not be a very highly touted JUCO quarterback recruit, mainly due to some of the baggage that he had with him in his game and just some off-the-field stuff that he had, as he would end up walking on at Nevada after his time at Independence. Malik Henry would only play one season at Nevada, as he played in 3 games in 2019, completing 54% of his passes, throwing for 593 yards, 1 touchdown, and 4 interceptions. After that 2019 fall semester, Malik Henry was no longer on the team, and he left Nevada. Then his football career was kind of in limbo for a little bit, but since his time at Nevada has come to a close, he has played some professional indoor football with the Frisco Fighters and Jacksonville Sharks. On to the next player I'm going to be talking about from Season 3. I'm going to flip it over to the defensive side of the ball and talk about defensive lineman Emmit Gooden. Now, Emmit Gooden, at his time at Independence, he was seen as one of the best players in the nation on the JUCO level, as according to 24/7 Sports, he was the ranked 18th best player in the 2018 JUCO recruiting class. And after his time at Independence, he would end up going to Tennessee. Emmit Gooden would break out on the scene for Tennessee in 2018, as in 10 games played, he had 33 total tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, and 1 sack. He was seemed to be due for a big season in 2019, but unfortunately he would end up getting hurt and missing the entire season. So 2020 was the year everyone was expecting for a big bounce back year for Emmit Gooden, coming back from injury, but unfortunately he would end up getting in some trouble and he got dismissed from the team. And it seemed like his football career would be in some limbo, but in 2021 he was playing at Lincoln University, and after 1 season at Lincoln University, he declared his name for the 2022 NFL Draft, where he went undrafted and has yet to be signed by an NFL team. Another running back that was featured on Last Chance U Season 3 was Kingston Davis, a transfer from Michigan. After his 1 year at Independence, he would end up transferring to UAB. Kingston Davis played 1 season at UAB in the 2018 college football season as a backup running back, in which in 4 games played, he rushed for 85 yards, averaged 3.7 yards per carry, and had 1 touchdown. He would end up getting arrested in 2018 and dismissed off the team shortly thereafter. After that, he kind of had a hiatus with college football, but he would find his way back on the college football scene in 2021 with Miles College. In his 1 season at Miles College, Kingston Davis rushed for 721 yards and had 6 total touchdowns on the ground. Overall, a pretty solid season. He declared his name for the 2022 NFL Draft, where he went undrafted and is currently unsigned. Sticking with another running back from Season 3, this time Jamal Scott. Jamal Scott would end up going to Eastern Illinois after his time at Independence, and in 2018, he rushed for 395 yards and had 3 total touchdowns on the ground with them, and that was his only season he played at Eastern Illinois. He had some really big games for them in that 2018 season, but he was not a part of the team in 2019, and it's kind of unknown what he's been up to since then. To conclude looking at the Season 3 guys, the last guy I'm going to be looking at primarily from only Season 3 is Kerry Buckmaster, an O-lineman. After his time at Independence, he would end up going to play for West Texas A&M. He was, however, not at West Texas A&M for the longest, as he was on the 2019 roster, but was eventually taken off the roster, and it seems like he just left West Texas A&M early, and it's kind of unknown what he did after that with his football career, or if he ever played football again, but he did recently post something on social media, and it does look like he is doing well. When talking about Season 4 of Last Chance U and the Independence Community College football team, they were supposed to be very good and national contenders, as they were the number 6 team heading into the season, and, well, they were very disappointing to say the least. They finished 2-8, and the head coach, Coach Brown, was forced to resign at the end of the season. To start off Season 4, I'm going to be talking about someone that was in both Season 3 and Season 4, and wasn't exactly a starter for Independence while he was there, but he was someone that a lot of people really liked on the show, and this is linebacker Bobby Bruce. Now, Bobby Bruce was someone on the show that a lot of people really felt bad for with how his story, his upbringing, all of that, but they really liked him on the show overall, or at least it really seems that way. He was actually not expected to be with the team going into Season 4 as he actually got arrested after the 2017 season they had, but he would end up being back with the team, and obviously he would be on a very short leash, but he would end up being dismissed from the team early on in Season 4, and after his time at Independence, he has played some semi-pro football, but he has also gotten in trouble with the law some more since being on Last Chance U. With the next player from Last Chance U Season 4, it's quarterback Jay Jones. Now, Jay Jones, before his time at Independence, he was at Georgia Tech. While at Independence, he suffered some injury issues, and just the injury issues he had build onto his play, and he wasn't really able to play like he really wanted to, and it seemed like anytime he actually did good, he would end up getting injured. After his time at ICC, he was open to changing positions and revisiting his D1 offers. But that's really the last we've heard about his college football career was at Independence. On to the next player, we have receiver Markiese King. Now on the show, while he was at Last Chance U, they revealed that he was going to play football at Lamar, but he would actually never play football at Lamar as other things would go on. He actually would not play a college football game until 2020, and the last school he's played for was the University of Central Oklahoma, a D2 school. In the 2021 college football season, Markiese King had a very good season for Central Oklahoma, as he had 40 receptions for 665 yards and 5 touchdowns. On to the next player, we have defensive end Kailon Davis. Kailon Davis, on his time at ICC, was a defensive lineman, and although he wasn't exactly the focal point of the D-line, with Jermaine Johnson being there and basically being the same position as him, he was still overall a very good player. After his time at ICC, he would end up playing for Arkansas State. Kailon Davis would spend a total of 2 seasons at Arkansas State. In 2019, it was the only season he played in any games, as he played in 7 games, recording 9 total tackles. He would miss the entire season in 2020, and he was expected to have his best season yet in 2021. But unfortunately, he would have to retire from football at the end of the 2020 season in the 2021 offseason due to heart problems. And it seemed like his football career was going to be done right there, as you would think. But that was not the case at all, as Kailon Davis did play football in 2021, as he played for the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. In his 1 season at the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, he would record a total of 18 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. He would have his name in the NFL draft for 2022, but he has gone undrafted and he's still unsigned. On to the next player from Last Chance U Season 4, it is defensive lineman Chance Main. After his time at ICC, Chance Main would play for the University of Incarnate Word. Chance Main would spend a total of 3 seasons at Incarnate Word. At one point, he was even an all-conference third-team member. In his career there, he had 72 total tackles, 20.5 tackles for loss, and 10.5 sacks. He is going to be finishing out his college eligibility on the FBS level playing for Colorado in 2022. On to the final player in this video from Season 4. He was actually in Season 3 and Season 4, and that is Jermaine Johnson. Jermaine Johnson, while he was in JUCO, was the #1 rated JUCO player in the nation. And after his time at Independence, he would go on to play for Georgia. Johnson would spend a couple seasons at Georgia, primarily as a backup, and he still played pretty well as he had 36 total tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, 2 pass deflections, and 1 forced fumble in 2 years at Georgia. But 2021, he would play for a different school, this time being Florida State. In 2021 for Florida State, Jermaine Johnson would have his best season of college football yet, as he would rack up 70 total tackles, 17.5 tackles for loss, 11.5 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, and 2 forced fumbles, and was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year. In the 2022 NFL Draft, he would end up being drafted in the first round by the New York Jets. If you want to know more about Jermaine Johnson's story, I have made a video on him recently about his entire story from the beginning to current day. I will leave that video link in the description down below. Well guys, if you made it this far in the video, drop something down in the comment section below if you want to see a video like this on Last Chance U Season 5, where they were at Laney College. Before you guys leave, however, remember to smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, and subscribe if you haven't already. B. Kelly, out.